All the black cabbies know the secrets of Keir Starmer, the public secrets amongst the cabbie trade by speaking to people. And he said the three secrets are these. Starmer lead. I can't believe you just asked that question.
True. If Khan, in some parallel universe, became leader of the Labour Party and then ran in a general election, he would get slaughtered.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Nick Talks. This episode's returning guest, who's a regular feature now on Nick Talks, is Ash, the Preston journalist.
Hi, Nick. You okay?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for popping back on again. Let's jump straight into it. Let's talk about. There's only one story in town at the moment, and that's always Labour. This Labour government. So Keir Starmer announced yesterday that he's knighting Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London. What do you think about that?
I'd like to know what he's done to be honoured with that with the knighthood. Knife crime is up God knows how much percent. Robberies are up 36%. He's bankrupted TfL twice. What else has he done? I mean, he's raised taxes by over 70%, brought in ULEZ, brought in low emission zones, brought in other charges. People can't get off their own driveways without paying God knows how much. And it amazes me that there are still people, and I'm sorry anyone watching this who's offended, but people living in London who are stupid enough to put a cross in the box for this guy. It's almost like Starmer now has thought, you know what, I'm going down. So what I'm going to do is take the country with me. It's like he's trolling the public now. He's just doing it for a laugh.
I think it's been given a knighthood for two reasons. The first reason is Sadiq Khan has become mayor now three times. No one else has been mayor three consecutive terms. So I think he wants to celebrate that. That's what he'd tell me and you why he's doing it. I think the real reason why he's doing it is I think he's buying off Sadiq Khan for in the future to topple Keir Starmer and run for leadership of the Labour Party and Prime Minister. I think he's paying him off. At the moment, Keir Starmer has got two real challengers. There's only two people in the country who are Labour politicians who are bigger than Keir Starmer. One's Sadiq Khan and one's Andy Burnham. So it looks like to me he's paid off Sadiq Khan now.
It's a good way of looking at it. It's quite possible, yeah. I mean, would Labour be stupid? I mean, it's actually quite a democratic system, the Labour Party, so they wouldn't actually have a say in stopping him being leader, of course. Would the membership of Labour be stupid enough to vote for him and make him the leader? Possibly. I mean, they made Corbyn leader, didn't they?
Exactly. And they made Starmer lead. I can't believe you just asked that question.
True. Yeah, I mean, if Khan, in some parallel universe, became leader of the Labour Party and then ran in a general election, he would get slaughtered. I mean, I don't care what people inside the M25 do. He'd get absolutely massacred outside the M25. There's no way he'd win the general election. But yeah, you're probably right. Certainly in Andy Burnham's case, I think it wouldn't surprise me if we saw some honour going his way as well soon enough. I mean, these aren't exactly difficult jobs to do, though, are they? I mean, in terms of politics, winning Manchester as a Labour mayor is not difficult, and winning London as a Labour candidate is not that difficult. Uh, there's people around me. Like, I've got, well, not my council, but Preston City Council, for example. People tell me, "Oh, this guy called Michael Brown in charge there, and he's a great leader. He's a great leader for the Labour Party." I'm like, no, he's just got a council that's in an inner city area, which is essentially a crap hole, and that people who live like that tend to vote Labour. I mean, God only knows why. So yeah, all right. He could have been leader one day. I don't. Do you really think he had aspirations to go back in there now? He's getting paid more as London Mayor than he would as leader of the opposition or even Prime Minister.
All those career politicians all want to climb the greasy pole. And the reason why they all, Andy Burnham, Sadiq Khan, the reason why they went to be mayors, which was a step down from Parliament, basically, even though it's more money, was because Boris Johnson, who I dislike now, shown the way. It's a sidestep to become prime minister. Is you go to be a mayor in a big town city somewhere, and then use that as a springboard. So would Sadiq Khan win a general election? No, he wouldn't. But I believe he thinks he would, and I think Keir Starmer
He's got the ego for it.
no,
Yeah.
I think he thinks he would. Keir Starmer sees him as a threat. He doesn't want anyone behind him who's more popular than him with a big knife, so he's bought him. It wouldn't surprise me if he tried to buy Andy Burnham with something similar, but I don't think Andy Burnham wants a knighthood. I think Andy Burnham has still got his sights on being Prime Minister. Andy Burnham, even though I disagree with many of his policies, he's not mental like Sadiq Khan is. He's keeping a lot of his powder dry because I think he thinks he's got one more big push to be Labour leader and to be Prime Minister. So I don't think Keir Starmer can buy him at the moment.
Well, remember Andy Burnham lost out to Corbyn, didn't he, in the leadership contest? And in hindsight, of course, Andy Burnham would have been the far better choice. In fact, it's not even hindsight. All you have to do is look at the two people side by side at the time, and Andy Burnham was the better choice. And actually, Andy Burnham would have a shot at winning the general election because I'm not a fan of him either. Actually, I think he's way too smug for his own good. But he he comes across as credible. He speaks better than most of the people you hear, certainly in the Labour Party anyway. And he would be a threat, definitely, to Starmer. I mean, if Starmer started giving peerages out to anybody that was more popular than him, there'd be nobody left in the Commons, would there? He's the most unpopular guy you can possibly think of. And to try and get rid of all your rivals like that, I mean, surprisingly, she'd never win a general election, but his biggest problem is Rayner. You'll notice she's never around him. She stays away as much as she possibly can. She even went on a world tour recently and met the Pope and stuff. God only knows why. But she's just keeping out of the way like a lot of them are. And you'll notice Starmer doesn't really get pictured with that many people. he's he's very, very on his own, I think. And if you speak to Labour MPs, a lot of them will tell you they've not exactly turned on Starmer yet, but they don't believe he wants to be Prime Minister. They don't believe that he's enjoying the job. But the problem is now, when you're in that job, if you were to quit after just a few months or even a year, you look ridiculous. So he can't do it. And they're all bothered. And I know you're right, they all want to climb the greasy pole. But something else they're also very, very bothered about is, of course, their legacy. They want to be remembered fondly by people, even if that's a pretty impossible task in Starmer's case.
Yeah, because all career politicians, part of them, or nearly all of them, are narcissists as well. So they want to be desired, they want to be approved of, they want to go down in history with a legacy, and they want to be written about in the history books 100 years from now. So they're all thinking about that. And those politicians you mentioned who are never seen with Starmer, part of that will be they're beginning to realize that Starmer, there's something about Starmer that they don't want to catch. It's his unpopularity, it's his he can't handle the media, and they don't want to be tarred with the same brush. Whatever he's got, they don't want to catch it in case it damages them in the future.
The guy can't think on his feet, can he? He's supposed to be an intelligent man. You're right. They're avoiding him like the plague, and rightly so. If you saw that silly reset speech, which you weren't allowed to call a reset speech, apparently, the cabinet, the front bench, was sat there. The faces were so glum, and when he was speaking, you could see them all just going, like they weren't shaking their heads, obviously, but the facial expressions said it all. They did not want to be sat there pretending that they're backing this guy. How you can be so bad at communicating with the public is absolutely beyond me. And he's not helped, to be fair to him, by the advisors around him. This Morgan McSweeney guy is meant to be like, the head honcho, fantastic strategist and all this stuff. He's the one that should be in charge of communications, getting the communications out to the public, getting a positive message out about this government. It might be a difficult task, but that's his job. I've never seen communication so bad in my life. You would think, wouldn't you, that number 10 would have the best communications team, the best PR people that money could buy. And they're just awful. How are you? I mean, look at Starmer stood up in the Commons when he was asked by Kemi Badenoch in PMQs about Louise Haig's resignation. And he called her the Justice Secretary. I'm like, does this guy even know where he is? He called Rishi Sunak Prime Minister how many times? Like 5 or 6 times. I mean, what's wrong with him? And as like you said, there's something about him they don't want to catch. He's a fundamentally bad person. He's not a good man. He's slimy. He lives. Well, he's a freeloader basically. He takes freebies off his mate Lord Ali. Never pays for anything himself, and the public just don't like him. He's a very dislikable person, and I don't think he is this good person that he. this is half the problem, isn't it, when you try and paint yourself as whiter than white like Starmer did, and then it all comes crashing down when people realise what you're actually like. But that's the problem here. Is yes, he's surrounded by useless people like Lammy and Miliband, but he put him there. But he is the major problem. The more the public see of him, the less they like him, and the more Labour go down in the polls, and the more that the favourability ratings of the cabinet and Starmer keep declining.
I agree. You just mentioned someone a minute ago, and let's talk about them. You mentioned Louise Haigh. Did you think she was going to resign? I tell you what, it took me by surprise. I thought she'd hang in there. I thought Starmer would stand with her. Um, it surprised me that she went.
No, I didn't think she was going to go, and I'm going to say something now people won't like. I don't think she should have gone. I think this is Starmer's problem. He's now trying to roll back and say that he didn't know anything about it, didn't know about her conviction. One of the first sentences in her resignation letter, she says that Starmer knew the lot. Even when she was in the shadow cabinet, he knew everything. So, from my perspective, she tried to claim a mobile phone falsely on the insurance. All right, it's not a good thing to do, but the public would have forgiven that. If it had been communicated properly, the public would have said, in fact, quite a few members of the public would have said, well, I claimed something on the insurance I didn't have either. So, if it's a mobile phone, it's not the Great Train Robbery. If Starmer had come out and said, yes, I knew about this, yes, I think she's the right person for the job, and yes, she's going to continue and I will stand by her, people would have got over it. There might have been a few bad headlines for a couple of days, but they'd have got over it, fine. But he hasn't even got the balls to do that. He has to come out and then start denying that he knew anything. Then they came out and said, oh, new information came to light. Like, there's no new information. This was years ago. This is what I'm talking about with the communications. It's awful. First port of call, cover up. That doesn't work. Shit, we've got to keep lying. We've got to tell some more lies. They're just dreadful people. They really are.
I completely agree. I don't think she had to go for several reasons. The first reason is in this country, we tend to punish criminals once. And once you've done your time and accepted your punishment, we then tend to forgive you. So there's an argument for that. And that's actually the basis of our justice system. So there's a whole argument he could have made to say, she did wrong, she got caught, she accepted a punishment. We just need to move on. The second point is we all think they're crooks and criminals anyway. And being proven you're a crook and a criminal, the public already think they all are anyway. So it would have blown over after a couple of weeks. It would have been some embarrassing headlines. He'd have been insulted and she'd have been insulted every now and again in the Commons about it. But she could have survived. I'm surprised that well, when we say she resigned, what really happens is you need to go. You go or I sack you. So that's what she got told. And he's now lost his first minister. All the other ministers are now going, if he can do her in like that over that, that means he'll do me in over something to protect his skin. So he's now lost trust of many of his ministers, and people like her on the backbench and other people now will have it in for him as well, more so than they did before.
There's a lot on those backbenches that have got it in for him, especially the ones that were loyal to people like Corbyn, for example. And if you look at some of the people in his own cabinet, they're clearly there because he wants to keep well, he hasn't got many friends, but certainly keep his enemies closer. Because if somebody's in the cabinet, of course, they're bound by collective responsibility and they can't speak out against him without losing their cushy jobs in whatever ministry they're working in. So, I mean, he's got a lot of enemies in that party. And I think, I know we've said before he might not last till Christmas and that. He will. He'll last till May, I think, May or June.
I'm
when the
beginning to
local
change my
elections.
mind on that.
Yeah, I think he'll limp on until the local elections, and then you'll start see. All it's going to take is one prominent member of the party to come out and resign from the cabinet for whatever reason. They'll try and act all saintly about it, and they'll resign for whatever reason. And Starmer then it'll all like with Boris. When people started resigning, it'll all come crashing down around his ears. After all, who wants the job of taking over the party before May, going into the elections, getting absolutely slaughtered? That's your first act. It's not what you want, is it?
Yeah, no. Now, a friend of mine, Lindsay Khan, who I do the Mayor and I podcast with. If you don't know what that is, check it out on my channel. You'll enjoy it. He was in London at the weekend and got a black cab, and he was chatting to the cabbie about politics, like you do. And obviously, as we all know, the stereotype says that all black cabbies have got an opinion on everything, especially about politics. And he said to Lindsay, all the black cabbies know the secrets of Keir Starmer, the public secrets amongst the cabbie trade by speaking to people. And he said the three secrets are these. The first secret is Keir Starmer is bisexual and has had bisexual affairs. The second secret is the one that we all know about. He's got a love child. And the third secret we've heard about as well is him and his wife are separated. And he said they're the three secrets everyone's trying to keep out of the mainstream press. And he says all the cabbies in London know about it. It's all been confirmed by many different sources, and they talk about it all the time to the people sat in their cabs.
Doesn't surprise. First thing about Starmer, none of those things surprised me. There was obviously a lot of different rumours were swirling around, and meant those three things you just mentioned were part of those three rumours, weren't they? I think the being separated from his wife is blatantly obvious. If you saw that cringy Christmas light turn on outside Downing Street, she was stood there, but she did not want to be there. She wasn't holding his hand. She didn't look him in the eye. She was clearly there as a PR piece. Oh, look at the husband and wife. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me they're separated at all. The bisexual thing, I'd heard that rumor, but I couldn't prove it or anything. It doesn't surprise me though that these cabbies get all this information. Just think how many MPs they probably do drive around, or politicians, or advisors, or whatever it may be, and they just give them little snippets of information. Just it's actually quite a good way of leaking stuff, isn't it? If you want to, without going to the press.
I would say the cabbies are the old-fashioned social media. That you can put something to a cabbie and have it trending, but now we use social media.
Have you ever seen Yes Minister or Yes Prime Minister? Well, it's the drivers, isn't it? It's the minister's drivers. Like, oh yeah, they know about all the reshuffle, don't they? Like, oh yeah, he's getting the sack, he's getting this. They all find out about different things off the different bosses. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me those cabbies know those things, and none of them come as a shock to me. Honestly, I'd heard rumors about him being just gay, but if he's bi, then fine, whatever he wants to be. I mean, to be honest with you, that stuff really concerns me far less than what he's actually doing to the country. If he wants to be gay, then fine. Go and do what you want. I can't really care. But it's what he's doing to the country that concerns me more.
I think all three of those rumors, because the rumors at the moment, if they were true, as you said, if you had a decent PR team, there wouldn't be a problem. Him and his wife are split up. Who isn't split up? Some of my friends have been married and split up and divorced. It happens all the time. It's not 100
Mm.
years ago where you look down upon. I mean, I think divorce is too easy in this country. But if his wife split up, I don't think that's anyone else's concern. It's a private matter. If anything, it made me feel a bit sorry for him that his relationship's crumbled. I would feel a bit sorry for the man because he's got children. The fact he's got a rumor again that he may have a love child. Well, a little bit of a scandal, and you know what? He may, if he was still with his wife at the time, then that is a bit of a scandal, because if you can do that to your wife, what can you do to the country?
Yeah, it's a bad look. Yeah.
But if the answer is him and his wife were split up, then that's not really much of an issue. And the bisexual one, again, if him and his wife are split up, well, isn't it all acceptable now with all the LGBTQ bollocks to be bisexual and to be this and pansexual and whatever all the latest terms are? Every one of those things could have been spun. Some of them could have been spun to generate pity for the man. But again, being defensive and lying and covering up always brings down a politician.
But these things, the personal issues, aren't they? The chances are that a lot of the press wouldn't even use them against him because they are personal issues, and they just say, "Well, we're not going to use it." I mean, the chances are the press know about it anyway. If I'm guessing if taxi drivers do, and if it's got down to you and me, I reckon the press know about it anyway. They just choose not to use it. So yeah, you're right. And
I think it's not that they don't choose to use it. They've got to get over a certain threshold to say this is in the public interest. They all know about it, known about it for a long time. They just can't push it over the threshold of public interest. And that's the only thing, because it's not in these things aren't in the public's interest
No, I'm gonna say they're not. No, it's not a public interest story at all.
unless he's covering it up now and lying. Then it's in the public's interest. But as original stories, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Nobody cares. I suppose what it would do is add to the perception that the public have already got about him anyway, is that he's a very disingenuous, very deceitful man. And I mean, his reputation's in the gutter anyway, so saying you're gay isn't going to make a massive difference. And as you just said, it's accepted now anyway. It's not like it's, a big sin. You're going to get flogged or anything for being gay, is it? Or chemically castrated or something. So just, yeah, it's his politics that concern me more, honestly. But if he's covering this up, then it just doesn't surprise me. Like as you said right at the beginning of this, we all think they're lying scumbags anyway. So it doesn't surprise me they've got a few peccadillos hiding away in their cupboards. I know a few MPs that are gay, and I think it's still seen in Westminster as a bit of a taboo subject. Whereas some come out and brazenly walk around with rainbows on or whatever, others want to keep it quiet. And there are some in the Commons who keep it quiet, and they certainly don't make a song and dance about it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but I'm sure next year some of these things will come out because everything comes out eventually, and we will see how he handles the disastrousness of the local elections, and we'll see if he can survive that, and we'll see what happens in the new year. But for this episode, cheers Ash for coming back on, and let's do this again soon.
Yeah, cheers, Nick. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye.